This week is going to be nearly impossible to predict. I fully expect to get everything wrong again. We honestly only have a marginal improvement over our previous understanding of the meta and where teams fit in it. But with that in mind, let's get started. London versus Toronto. I think London could make it close. Spark and Shaq's a great DPS, especially in this meta, and Molf 1G is actually a good wrecking ball. However, I can't trust Heidi or the supports enough to have them pull out the win here. Toronto has an elite Sombra in Hisu, better supports, a better main tank in Sado and a great tracer player in Aspire. I'll give this to Toronto 3-1, with London able to take a map. Vancouver versus Boston. Boston wins 3-0. New York versus Philadelphia. This is a really hard game to predict. New York has consistently beaten Philadelphia recently. However, Philadelphia has really leveled up as well, with decisive wins over both the Dragons and the Spark. Can Philadelphia break the curse? I'm going on a limb and saying no. New York leveled up massively as well, and frankly I think New York's win over the Dragons was more impressive, as the Dragons were clearly experimenting with different comps and lineups, which didn't happen during New York's win. It will be close and could go either way, but for now I'm saying New York wins 3-2. Seoul versus Shanghai. This game is going to be massive. How this game goes could determine how knockouts and even how the end-of-season tournament plays out. Will the increased motivation carry Seoul to a victory? I'll say, no. It'll be close, but Shanghai has had Seoul's number every time they play. I don't think that will change this time. I'm giving it to Shanghai 3-2. Chang versus Guangzhou. Guangzhou has likely leveled up like every other team this stage, but Chang is much more proven and accomplished in this meta. I give it to Chang 3-0. Dallas Fuel versus London Spitfire. Dallas is struggling, but London still isn't that good despite the meta somewhat moving in their favor. On top of that, Dallas has the motivational factor of trying not to miss knockouts. So, I give this to Dallas 3-0. Florida Mayhem versus Atlanta Reign. Florida is still struggling with internal issues, and Atlanta is looking very dominant. Now, I think Florida could actually look decent. It is a tracer meta, and Yaki can carry on tracer, and BQB is a great hit skin. I don't think they really have an elite Farah, and if OGE comes back, he might be serviceable at best on Hammond. However, with how they were performing even with BQB, and how dominant Atlanta has been, I don't see this as a winnable game for them pretty much no matter that they do. It's just a team diff. Atlanta are insane. Atlanta takes this 3-0. Toronto Defiant versus Washington Justice. Washington isn't in week 1, so they should pop off and dominate. Toronto has a great team for this meta, though, so I say they take a map but ultimately lose 3-1. Philadelphia versus Seoul. This is such a massive game for both teams. If Philadelphia end up winning both their games this week, they have a chance of overtaking Seoul for the second bye slot into playoffs, which would be huge for them. If Seoul wins, they'll be locked in no matter what Chengdu or Philadelphia do, disregarding one of them having a miracle Hawaii run. Who wins? I am ultimately going to go with the Fusion. It could go either way, but the Fusion have a lot of momentum behind them, and Seoul didn't look all that hot last weekend, and should be low off the loss to Shanghai. Again, this will be an insanely close match, but ultimately I have more faith in Philadelphia right now. I say Philadelphia take it 3-2. Chengdu Hunters versus New York Excelsior. Chengdu is going to be extremely competitive coming into this week. They are also competing with Seoul and Philadelphia for the second slot in the pack. Ultimately, I think Chengdu are going to come in swinging their massive cocks and going at New York with everything they've got. They can't afford to lose. New York has definitely improved, but unless Chengdu has a downgrade from Hawaii, which I don't think they will, Chengdu should take this 3-1. Shanghai Dragons versus Guangzhou Charge. The Charge, again, could be good, but ultimately even a weakened Shanghai should still be too much for them. The star power difference is too great for Guangzhou to overcome, even if New York was able to. I give up to Shanghai 3-0. Boston versus Florida. Boston is so inconsistent I have no idea if they'll throw or dominate. They caught Paris off guard with their unconventional comps, but were unable to adapt to the shock. I expect Florida to be in the same position as Paris, sticking to the metacomp as it fits their strengths, and Boston to catch them off guard. Boston takes this 3-1. Atlanta versus Dallas. Dallas has beaten Atlanta pretty closely in all of their past meetings. Atlanta always puts up a good fight, but ultimately they always come short. Will that happen again? I don't think so. Atlanta are monsters at this composition. Pelican is a phenomenal tracer and Farah, Edson is amazing on tracer and hitskins, and Kai is an unstoppable flex DPS. They are unbeatable at the Orizatorb comps, and they aren't bad at the Metaball Diva comps either. I just don't think that at the moment Dallas can measure up. Spark 1E is a bit lacking on the tracer and Farah, and they don't have a star hitskin player like Atlanta do. Fearless is lacking on the ball and Oriza as well. Overall, Dallas is just in a bad spot right now, and if Atlanta were ever going to beat them, now is the time. I predict Atlanta to beat Dallas 3-2. Washington versus Vancouver. Washington takes this 3-0. This is easily the most important week for a pack. This singular week has the potential to determine who has the bye to playoffs and who doesn't. Thanks for watching, and remember to like and subscribe for more. I upload daily Overwatch League content, and I am trying to hit 100 subs by Season 5, so any subscription helps greatly. Thanks.